In the Deep South, history doesn't just linger in books or graveyards. It soaks into the soil, into the walls, into the wood of the houses built by hand generations ago. When the wind moves just right, you can almost hear it whispering, memories of floods, storms, fires, and tragedies too heavy to stay buried. And sometimes, those houses don't just stand silent in the heat and humidity. They breathe, they listen, and when they want to, they remind us that the past is never really gone. Tonight, you'll hear true haunted house stories from Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. These are not campfire tales or Hollywood jump scares. These are first-hand accounts from people who swore they didn't believe in ghosts until a house made them change their minds. By the time you finish listening, you'll understand why some families leave everything they own behind rather than spend one more night inside their own home. Close your eyes and picture it. An old southern house in the dead of night. The humidity presses against your skin like a damp blanket. Every shadow in the hallway seems alive with movement. The floors don't just squeak when you walk, they groan, as though they disapprove of your presence. Now imagine that house has stood for more than 100 years. How many storms shook its windows? How many deaths occurred within its walls? How many secrets were whispered in the dark long before you ever stepped inside? Do you really believe a place like that would stay silent forever? The Louisiana River House. The Louisiana River House, just outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana, along the old river road, sits a row of weather-beaten Creole cottages. Their paint is cracked, their porches sagging under the weight of time, but they still stand. And one of them became home to a young woman named Chloe. The rent was cheap, too cheap. Utilities included. Furniture left behind by the previous tenant. All that, plus one strange warning from the landlord: don't wedge the stair door open. It swells in the summer, best to keep it closed. Chloe thought nothing of it. Every old house had its quirks, but she would come to learn that this stair door wasn't about swollen wood. It was about something waiting on the other side. On her first night, Chloe woke around 3 in the morning, restless from the heat. The lamp beside her bed had turned itself on. She frowned, pulled the chain to shut it off, and went back to sleep. But minutes later, click, the lamp glowed again. She unplugged it from the wall, shook her head, and laughed it off as faulty wiring. But the next night, at 3:12 a.m., the lamp clicked on again, this time still unplugged. When she picked up her phone to check the time, her heart skipped. An alarm had been set. 3:12 a.m., no label, no memory of creating it. Over the next week, Chloe noticed the house seemed to breathe. In the humid afternoons, the walls expanded, sighing with the heat. At night, the wood shrank tight, popping like knuckles in the silence. But then came something else. Footsteps. 2 creaks on the staircase. A pause. 2 more. At first, she told herself it was the house settling, but the sound grew heavier, more deliberate, like someone testing each stair with careful weight. And always, the steps stopped just short of the stair door. The stair door unnerved Chloe. Its hinges groaned, its frame shifted in the night. One evening, annoyed by the constant sound, she shoved a shoe against it to wedge it open. That night, at exactly 3:12, the lamp blazed to life once more. And then she heard it. Nails, deliberate, searching, coming down the staircase. The door, wedged open with her shoe, suddenly slammed shut with a violent force. The shoe skittered across the floor. From the other side, tick, tick, tick. Fingertips tracing the wood, circling the doorknob as if testing it. Chloe froze, too afraid to breathe. The knob rattled once, turned halfway, then stopped. Whatever was there decided not to come in. That night, the next morning, Chloe called her landlord, her voice shaking. She told him everything. There was a long silence on the line. Then the man sighed, his voice tired. "You wedged it, didn't you?" Chloe's skin prickled. "What are you talking about?" "That door has to stay closed. If it doesn't, she comes looking." Her breath caught. "She? Who?" The landlord's voice cracked like a man carrying a weight too long. "The one who checks the lamps. We lost a girl in that house. Fire took her, middle of the night. She ran for the stairs, but the smoke took her first. They say she was trying to wake the others. That's why she checks the lamps, to see if anyone's still asleep." That night, Chloe left the stair door alone. She watched as it drifted on its hinges until the latch kissed the frame shut. At 3:12 a.m., she lay awake in the dark. The lamp stayed silent. No footsteps, no nails. In the silence, she whispered, "I'll keep it closed." And the house seemed to sigh in relief. Chloe stayed 3 more months. Each evening she checked the stair door, made sure it was shut, and whispered her promise. When she finally moved out, she left the key on the counter with a note. "The door is shut." To this day, the house still stands on the river road. The shutters sag, the porch leans, but the stair door stays closed. And sometimes, just sometimes, drivers passing late at night report seeing a faint glow in the upstairs window, a brass lamp flickering on at 3:12 a.m. before fading back into the dark. The Fogged Mirror in Mississippi. In Jackson, Mississippi, an old shotgun rental house stood on a narrow street lined with pecan trees. Shotgun houses were simple, one room after another in a straight line, doors aligned so a breeze or a bullet could pass clean through. For years this house had a reputation. Renters came, renters went. Some left in the middle of the night, never bothering to collect their security deposit. The house wasn't collapsing, it wasn't moldy or dangerous, but everyone who stayed eventually said the same thing. There's something wrong with the bathroom mirror. The mirror was old, its silver backing tarnished around the edges. Tenants said it fogged at strange times, without steam, without showers. One tenant, Marcus, described it like this: "I'd walk in, middle of the day, and it'd already be fogged over, like somebody just got out of the shower. But the house was still and dry, the mirror was breathing all on its own." At first, Marcus thought it was just humidity. Mississippi summers can choke a man. But then came the writing. One night, after brushing his teeth, Marcus noticed streaks in the condensation, not random smears, letters, words. The message read, "Leave." He rubbed the mirror clean, heart racing. Maybe it was left over from a prank. Maybe someone before him had done it, and the steam just revealed it. But the next night, the word returned. Same handwriting, same dripping strokes. "Leave." This time, Marcus felt cold breath crawl down his spine. The air in the room seemed to thicken, as though he wasn't alone. For weeks, the messages came back. Sometimes one word, sometimes sentences. "I see you. Stop looking. Get out." Marcus told himself he was imagining things, but one night, the mirror fogged while he was watching it. No shower, no faucet. He stood there as words carved themselves into the glass, stroke by stroke, as if written by an invisible hand. This time it spelled his name. M-A-R-C-U-S. Marcus called his landlord the next day, demanding answers. The old man sighed as though he'd heard it before. "That house has been trouble for years," he admitted. "Bathroom's where it happened. Girl lived there in the 70s, locked herself in. They found her in the tub, wrists cut. Steam had covered the whole room. They say she wrote on the mirror before she went, not with steam, but with her own blood." Marcus felt sick. He pressed the landlord. "What did she write?" The landlord hesitated, then answered. "She wrote her boyfriend's name, said she'd follow him. But when the cops questioned him, he swore he wasn't even home that night, and when they checked the mirror again, the name had changed. It was his, but it wasn't his handwriting." Marcus tried to leave it alone. He stopped using the bathroom mirror, shaved in the kitchen, brushed his teeth in the sink. But the mirror wouldn't be ignored. One night he heard the faucet running by itself. He crept to the bathroom door. Inside, the mirror was dripping wet, fog rolling across the glass. This time the message was long. "Marcus, you can't leave. I'm already here." As he backed away, the mirror cracked loud enough to echo through the house. Marcus swore he saw something, someone, moving behind the glass. Not a reflection, a shadow, standing where he should have been. Marcus didn't sleep that night. At dawn, he stuffed everything he could into his car and drove away. He never asked for his deposit back. He never looked behind him at the shotgun house fading in the rearview mirror. But he said, years later, that sometimes when he passed a mirror, even in a hotel, even in a store, he'd see it fog for no reason. And once, while shaving, he swore he saw letters forming faintly across the glass. Just one word, wet and dripping. Found. The Alabama crawl space. In Alabama's Black Belt, the soil runs thick with iron and clay, red like dried blood, heavy as wet stone. Farmers say it grows anything, cotton, corn, pecans, but in whispers they'll tell you it also grows darker things, curses, secrets. In 1998, a young couple named Rob and Anna bought a small farmhouse outside Selma. They weren't thrill seekers, they weren't ghost hunters. They were just two new parents desperate for space, quiet, and a chance to build a life for their baby son. The house looked tired, its porch sagging, its roof patched with tin, its paint faded by decades of southern sun. But the price was right, so low it felt like a miracle. And in their excitement, they ignored the warnings. The neighbors who shook their heads, the real estate agent who said, "Don't worry if you hear noises under the house, that's just old pipes and wood." But it wasn't pipes, and it wasn't wood. Beneath that house was a crawl space, and something inside it had been buried not to rest, but to bind. From the start, the farmhouse felt off, too still. The first night, as Anna unpacked boxes, she noticed how the air seemed heavier inside than out. Outside was the sweet smell of honeysuckle and the sound of cicadas. Inside, the silence pressed against her chest like a weight. Even the baby monitor seemed muffled, as though the walls were swallowing sound. Rob brushed it off. "Old house," he said, kissing her cheek. "Once we get settled, it'll feel like home." But homes are supposed to welcome you. This one simply endured them. A week later, Rob went under to check the plumbing. The crawl space was low, forcing him onto his belly, the flashlight beam cutting across cobwebs and dirt. That's when he saw it. A shallow mound in the clay, wrapped in dark, oil-stained cloth. Curious, he dug it out. Inside the bundle were old coins tarnished green, a lock of braided hair tied with twine, and the porcelain head of a doll cracked across one cheek. Rob laughed, tossed it aside. "Some kid's prank," he called up to Anna. But when she came to look, her smile vanished. Her grandmother had told her stories of hoodoo, conjure bags buried to trap spirits, to bind curses, to keep something dangerous pinned in the earth. She begged him, "Put it back, Rob. Don't mess with it." But he didn't. He tossed the bundle onto a trash heap outside, thinking nothing more of it. The house thought differently. That night, the baby screamed without stopping. No fever, no colic, just shrieking until dawn. Anna swore she heard footsteps pacing beneath the nursery floor, deliberate, heavy. Rob dismissed it. "Raccoons," he said. But the next morning, when Anna checked the crib, she found dirt scattered across the sheets, red clay, the same clay from the crawl space. Her hands shook as she picked up her son. He smelled faintly of earth, as though something had touched him in the night. In the days that followed, the house began to stir. Knocks echoed from beneath the floor. Scratches clawed across the joists. At night, Anna heard whispers seeping up through the vents. Not words she could understand, but the rhythm of speech, low, urgent, angry. The baby's eyes followed something across the ceiling that Anna couldn't see. His cries grew louder whenever she set him down. Rob began to lose patience. He stormed into the crawl space with a crowbar, daring whatever was down there to show itself. When he came back up, there was nothing beneath the house. But on the kitchen table, arranged neatly, were the coins and doll's head he had thrown away, still caked with red clay. The next morning, their neighbor, an old farmer named Mr. Harris, came by. When Anna nervously told him about the bundle, his face drained of color. "You should have left it," he whispered. "That's a binding bag. Somebody buried it to pin a spirit down. You dug it up, now it's loose." Anna clutched her baby tighter. "What do we do?" The old man shook his head. His voice carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much. "Some houses aren't meant to be lived in. If I were you, I'd pack your things and go. Don't wait for it to show itself." He left without another word. The dust of his truck hung in the air long after he was gone. That night, the baby's screams rose higher than ever before. Anna rushed to the nursery and froze. The crib was shaking violently, as though invisible hands were trying to overturn it. She grabbed her son just as the crib collapsed into pieces. Rob charged in, crowbar in hand, his face white with fear. She grabbed her son just as the crib collapsed into pieces. Rob charged in, crowbar in hand, his face white with fear. Together they ran for the door, but every light in the house flickered and blew out at once. Darkness swallowed them whole. The pounding grew louder, heavier, until the entire house seemed to rise with each blow. Anna screamed for Rob to get them out. He kicked the door open, and they tumbled into the night. They never returned. Their furniture, their photographs, even Anna's grandmother's quilt. Everything was left behind. Neighbors said the house stood abandoned, sagging deeper into the clay. Some swore they heard knocking from inside when they passed at dusk. Others claimed to see a crib rocking in the upstairs window, though the house had been empty for decades. Rob and Anna moved states away, but the haunting followed them in whispers. Anna said sometimes she found red clay tracked across her carpet, though they lived miles from any Alabama soil. Rob never spoke of the crawl space again, but once, after too much whiskey, he admitted, "When I kicked open that door, I heard something laughing under the floor. Not angry, not sad, just free." Whatever had been buried beneath that house was meant to stay pinned forever. Rob unbound it, and it never forgave them.